is Antiques, and today we're going to talk a little bit about makeup, specifically decorative compact makeup. Now for some of us it might seem like it's kind of a boring topic, and I'm not a huge makeup fan despite my beautiful face now. I don't generally wear a lot of makeup, so I was like, I don't know. But these little gadgets, these little containers absolutely intrigue me because they're very unique and very different, and surprisingly have a lot of patents on them. So I start researching it. And you know, the history of makeup goes back all the way to the Egyptians, the Greeks. They were wearing makeup, and we know that they were wearing makeup probably during the Renaissance period, especially in court, where they want that very pale face and stuff. But by the 1800s, makeup was not an acceptable thing. People were certainly wearing makeup, but they didn't want everybody to know they wore makeup. Obvious makeup was only worn by actresses and perhaps prostitutes. Other people might have discreetly wanted to powder their nose or make their lips and cheeks look naturally rosy. To do that, they would hide little makeup containers, maybe like in a walking stick or a hat pin or a brooch or something. But it wasn't real obvious that that's what they were doing. Well, by the turn of the century, from the 1800s to the 1900s, we have a new generation of women coming about. And this generation of women, most notably the suffragists, they were very interested in telling the world that they were not happy with the status quo, that they were independent creatures, or women, or people, and that they were going to do what they wanted to do regardless of what the rest of society thought. And they started having protests for things. Well, the most obvious that we know about is the right to vote. And when they would go to these protest meetings, they obviously, and these protest marches, they wanted everybody to notice them and to see them. And one of the ways that they would do this is to wear makeup, specifically bright red lipstick. Because at that point, society was very much like, we do not wear lipstick. We don't show that off, because lipstick, especially bright red lipstick, that stood for sex and sin, and that was just an absolute taboo. Well, the suffragists, they wanted to shake things up, so they really didn't care. So they would start wearing makeup. It wasn't that long before people started thinking, those are some pretty cool women. And when the flappers come around in the 1920s, they are always about independence and standing out and being unique individuals. So they obviously adapted this makeup idea, and now they have they're all about getting out in the world. They want to go out dancing, they want to go out partying, they want to go to work, they want to do things. And as they do these things, they want to still be able to wear their makeup. And obviously, they can't take an entire vanity table with them to work or out to the dance floor. So they needed to find some ways to make it a little bit more convenient for them. And it was kind of a nice coincidence if you happen to be a watchmaker, because watchmakers had always made pocket watches for gentlemen. And as gentlemen went off to war, they didn't take the pocket watches. They took wrist watches, because that was so much more convenient and safer when you're, in the trenches, to look at your watch than to go pull out a pocket watch. So here are the pocket watchmakers, and they're stuck with the pocket watches that aren't really being sold. And here are these women looking for a more convenient way to carry their makeup with them. It would have been a really interesting board meeting, as they're like, what are we going to do? And somebody pops up, well, those women want to wear some makeup. Why don't we take advantage of that? So this happens to be Max Factor, which was a little bit later in the era, but it's the general pocket watch stand style. And they took the insides out of this pocket watch. They pop it open, stuck some powder inside of it, gave it a little mirror. I know I say that funny. Mirror. And stuck a little pocket powder puff in it, and away they went, and they were back in business. And women who were looking for ways to incorporate makeup into their lives, they were thrilled with this. But of course the flappers, well, not just the flappers, but probably a lot of women wanted to make sure that, well, if I'm going to be putting makeup on, and now it's okay if I put makeup on in front of other people, I want it to be really cute and really pretty. So companies started making these adorable, clever little compacts, and they came in all different shapes and sizes, and they were also could have been souvenirs that you would pick up. They're all over Pinterest. You can look and see came in all different shapes, like shapes of horses and hands and hats and sewing machines and whatever else you could possibly imagine. I have some pictures on my Pinterest page if you haven't looked at that. But as I digress, this particular brand is Elgin American, and they modified from being watchmakers over to these compact makers. This one was Evans America, or just Evans, and they came from the smoking product industry over to the compact. This is my zombie compact. It wasn't actually a zombie when I found it, but it is now. But this one is an example of what would have been a cigarette case with a compact in it. But anyway, so as women were coming out into the workforce, they were looking for ways to look really cute and really fascinating. And it was no longer a taboo. In fact, it was quite expected in the 30s that you were putting makeup on in public, and you could show it off as like an accessory, how pretty they were. However, as we moved into the 40s and into the 50s, and the men were coming back from war, we have a little shift in society, and there are a couple of different shifts in society kind of led to the downfall of these beautiful decorative compacts. And the first one being, well, women's belief on makeup to begin with. As the men were coming back from war, and we know war is never good to anybody, we know that there are a lot fewer men available to be getting married. And so women were competing more for men, and as they were doing so, initially, makeup being what all the cool girls were doing, it was okay. And they all wanted to, you know, show off their beautiful makeup and their beautiful makeup compacts. But to be quite honest, maybe I'm wrong, but I know very few men that have ever looked at a woman and said, wow, check out the color on her lipstick. I'm going to marry that woman. And I think probably about that time, society started going, oh, men are not that impressed with makeup. I don't need makeup. I just wake up looking like this anyways. I'm naturally beautiful. So that was kind of where the trend went. It was this natural beauty that was there all the time and didn't need to be touched up or fixed or anything, because that's how they were waking up and doing things. So that being said, the idea of putting makeup on in front of people now becomes passé and a little bit gauche, and you know, it's no longer acceptable to be putting your makeup on in public. So that's one factor in what happens to the compact trend. So a second factor that happens in the compact or the makeup world is, well, they started making some serious money. We know that there were women like Helena Rubinstein and Elizabeth Arden and Estee Lauder that were still involved with the makeup industry, and they were very powerful women. However, by the 1940s, this is a billion-dollar industry, and men are starting to take notice, and they start taking more interest in this industry, and they start taking more leadership roles. And as their interest obviously was in money and not these unique, beautiful items that, you know, were so popular before, they started looking at the bottom line. And the bottom line is there are cheaper ways to make these compacts, and plastic is one of those things. And you know what else is if we make them out of plastic and they empty them and then they throw them away, then they have to buy another one. And that increases our bottom line. So that was another reason for the downfall of these compacts, is that it was cheaper to make them with plastic than make these really beautiful, elaborate things. And women themselves were no longer wanting to put makeup on in front of people, so they were okay with these cheap plastic things. And of course, by the 60s, women are now kind of getting to the era where I don't need to wear makeup to catch a man because I am my own woman and I am pretty just the way I am, and I don't have to wear makeup. So that kind of sealed the deal with these things. And you know, we've kind of evolved, but we still make plastic compacts and plastic makeup containers. I'm personally wondering if plastic is not good for our environment. Maybe it's time for a revision or a revisit back to these sort of things, because they really are quite clever. Like this one, that's the Elgin. Yes, Elgin Compact. If you open it up, it had this little odd shaped powder puff, and this is where the powder was. But not only did this have powder in this little thing, it had some lipstick. It's an interesting shade, but to be quite honest, they discontinued this particular one in about 1948, and that's some really old lipstick, and I won't be wearing that one. This Evans is also, if you open it up, it had the powder compartment, and it had a little mirror on the side. But behind the mirror, and my guess is the person who originally owned this one didn't know it was there, because there is still the stamp of Evans on it, but that's where they hid the blush. Although that's pretty clever and pretty sneaky, and if you didn't know to look for it, you obviously didn't find it. This one is a Rex Fifth Avenue, and this is called a Super Pancake one. It's got red enamel on brass. It was one of their colorful collection. It would have been advertised in all the ladies' magazines. And it was rather big, and it still has its puff in it and a tad bit of powder left in there. This is one of my favorite ones, but it's obviously one of the hardest ones to get to. This is blue enamel on silver, and those are little roses. And this is called Blue Rose by Lancherie. Lancherie? I don't speak French. Anyways, but this clever little thing, if we can open it, and I will tell you that other compact patents focus more on making better latches for it. This one has the blush on one side, and it has this little latch here that's sometimes a little bit hard to get. And if you can get it, it opens up, and on the other side is the powder, and there would have been a little powder puff originally in there. Well, look how teeny tiny that is. That would have fit perfectly in somebody's little pocketbook. And to be quite honest, the flappers and the early suffragists not necessarily all wanted to hide them in a purse. Some of them would have had little pockets, compacts like this that had a hook on it so they could put a chain and just wear it out and not hide it in their purses. Anyways, I think that they're very clever, and if you look on Pinterest, there are several different versions of them. If you'd like to read more about it, please check out my blog at AuntieTina'sAntiques.com. I also have some resources on there to give you a fuller story and a lot more information. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, it's down there on the bottom, and if you'll just click that subscribe and stick it in there, I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye.